Aloha, this is Reverend Tim Lytle from Unity Church of Hawaii here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. We have wonderful services and videos and messages. We're so grateful to stand with you in faith so that you manifest the highest and best in your life, because we know where you are, God is. All of God is fully present there. So enjoy our services, enjoy the message, and thank you for joining us.
How blessed are we to hear Guy Marola, accompanied by Alethea Train and the Unity Band on a Sunday morning. Yeah. My first Unity minister in Bremerton, Washington was the now retired Reverend Richard Stone. And he became part of our family when we joined the church. And I used to hear lots of his stories. A lot of them about his seminary experiences, and one of them had to do with one of his classmates. Apparently, there was a gentleman in his class at Unity Ministerial School who was a retired archaeologist. And this fellow apparently provided lots of comedy in their classes. He was known for having said, "Love, love, love. All you people ever talk about is love." Well, we're going to talk about that today because it's February, the month of love. And it's also the first Sunday of the Lenten season, which is an opportunity to begin a journey expanding your understanding of love, expanding your expression of all of the qualities of God essence that you are. And love is certainly amongst the most important of those. Our Unity co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said this about love. That would help me out. It was working earlier. You may be my clicker today. Thank you. Love is the greatest harmonizer and healer. Love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everybody. Is that your experience of love? Not always for some of us, and not in every moment. But when we focus our attention on expanding the qualities of God within us, love is one of those qualities, and it's an essence quality of God. And by the way, it's an essence quality of all of us. Love is such an important facet that Jesus spoke of it as being the central commandment. To love the Lord your God with all your mind, your spirit, your body. And yes, the second part is to love your neighbor as yourself. So love is a foundational element in unity, in our spiritual journey. And February, as we observe the 12 powers through the year in unity, the 12 powers being a system by which we can expand our God qualities, February, we recognize that quality of love. It's okay to celebrate Valentine's Day, too. Hope y'all had a good holiday there in the middle of the week. But our work is summarized by this Rumi quote. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Do you have barriers to the expression of love moving in your life? Fear, anger, pessimism, doubt, worry. There's a nice little card in your bulletin today that I borrowed from the words of Pope Francis, unitized a couple of the phrases, added a thing or two, expanded on it, to give us an idea of what we might be choosing to give up as we move through the experience of the Lenten season. What would you be willing to fast from this season of Lent? In the traditional expression of Lent, in the traditional church, it's seen as an experience of 40-plus days from Ash Wednesday, this past Wednesday, through the journey toward Easter, of spiritual preparation. 40 days plus the Sundays thrown in. In the Bible, 40 days denoted that period of intense preparation for what came next, something important coming next that required us to be firm in our spiritual authority, to develop all of the God qualities within us so that we could move into what came next. Jesus fasted for 40 days. Elijah the prophet fasted for 40 days, preparing for his ministry. Moses and the tribes wandered in the desert for 40 years, and Moses fasted for 40 days before he went to the mount to receive the tablets. It is a process of being in preparation. So Lent, we're moving from the darkness of winter, and the light is coming. And the light is also that experience of Easter, which involves the crucifixion, but more importantly, the resurrection. And in this possible journey that we may choose to participate in, we can prepare ourselves to be able to express fully this quality, this God idea of love. Now, I'm all for human love, but we are talking about something that transcends even that experience, that moves the expression of love into an arena where we can express it for everybody, everywhere, all the time. I don't always hit that mark myself. But that's the goal, to expand our expression of who we are as beings of love, fully and completely. And so how would you go about doing that? Well, I think a journey can always use a good roadmap. The illustration on the slide is a scene from the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? Do you remember that? Yeah, okay. And this is the scene where they're talking about the field of quantum potential, where everything is in play until you snap your attention onto one choice. So beginning this period of Lent by choosing a focus, setting an intention for your journey that leads you forward in these 40 plus days to come, guiding and directing you, moving you with a focal point. And I think the expansion of love is a pretty good focal point. So we have the opportunity to choose a journey, to decide, here's where I'm headed, to align myself more fully with God, to be the fullest Godlet I can be on the planet at this moment. How's your Godlet nature working out today? Do you want it to grow bigger? Everybody say, yes, I'd love my Godlet self to be the biggest it can be. Thank you for that. So we're going to follow a roadmap. And as we begin, here are some suggestions for you. If you don't have something at your hand, you could go purchase any of these books online. Unity's 5 Principles is a guidebook for those foundational, fundamental ideas that support the Unity spiritual movement by Reverend Ellen Davenport. The 12 Powers, there are a number of books available on that. Charles Fillmore wrote the original one, and Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett has written an updated one called Divine Audacity. Reverend Phil Pearson, who many of us know, has written a book called The 12 Freedoms. They're a guidebook to take you through the expansion of 12 qualities of your God essence, to live fully as the God being that you are. And Keep a True Lent is a book, an older Unity text by Charles Fillmore, that is a guidebook for this particular period of time. It's available online. But an updated, sort of contemporized, abbreviated version is the Lenten booklet from which Reverend Johanna read the meditation this morning, and it's available down at Connection Central. So if you choose to participate in the conscious development of your God nature in these 40 days, and the rest of the year too, pick a guidebook, pick a roadmap, and join me on the journey. Now, what else might we do to begin? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to let go of our BS. Yeah, that would be our belief systems. Those thoughts and ideas that really aren't serving us anymore, but have us stuck somehow in the place where we are. If we can use this period of fasting from ideas and behaviors that aren't serving us, what a glorious experience of Lent we will have as we approach Easter. To expand into the love that we are. To expand our faith and our wisdom and our understanding and our ability to have the presence of God alive in us as a directing force for our lives. One quality that is often addressed, particularly in the traditional expression of the Lenten season, is this idea of atonement, that we are seeking forgiveness for our mistaken behavior, that we are starting fresh. Now, Unity has a little bit different take on this, which is that second word. We recognize that we are always in the space of at one-ment with God. There is no place that we could occupy that God would not also be. Now, we get lost in our human-only thinking from time to time, which can skew lots of things in our lives, particularly our sense of connectedness to the God of our being, the source that we emanate from and that we are here to express in the world. But if we align consciously, turn again into the expression of God, then we bring all of that power fully expressed into our lives. We become the God being that we are meant to be on the planet, expressing fully compassion, love, reconciliation, to be the hands and the feet and the loving heart of God in every moment in your life. Wouldn't that be a glorious way to live as we approach Easter and beyond? So I want to give you an example of what it looks like to be moving from the human expression of love into something fully realized, tapping into that transcendent potential. So I'm going to tell you a love story. There was a couple a number of years ago who were in midlife, and relationships hadn't been their most successful arena for either of them, but they said yes to a blind date. And oh my goodness, fireworks. They thought, each of them individually, that they might be just meeting, if they were lucky, they would be meeting someone who could be a social companion, someone maybe to travel with, or certainly to go to movies and attend the theater and the opera and have interesting intellectual conversations with, maybe be reading the same books together. Who knows what they might have explored, but it was worth checking out, this date with this other individual. Very quickly, they recognized that something far greater had happened to them through this blind date, that they were indeed soulmates, and that they had been blessed to have come together to create a relationship. It was so intense, they moved in together in 30 days. They eventually married, and they were grateful for this experience of love expanding in their lives when maybe they weren't so sure that was going to come their way again. Years unfolded, and as might happen, they got lazy. And they began to sort of allow life to take each of them in different directions, diluting that energy of soulmateism that they had discovered when they met. It got so rocky that they both were disrespectful of one another and their relationship in the ways people do. And they found themselves, in a conversation, let's say, really animated conversation with loud voices and lots of righteous indignation on both parts. And she was sitting there just waiting. Oh, he was ranting and raving really good, denying and justifying and, telling her all sorts of stuff, all sorts of BS. And she was just waiting. Man, she was working up a good head of righteous indignation herself. That steam was building, and she was just waiting for him to take a breath so she could jump in and say, yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'm out of here. And so she's just waiting. And in that waiting, a voice inside wells up and says, you think you have defined this relationship, your marriage, and that's not working out very well, wouldn't you say? What if you started over and the two of you together created the relationship, the ground rules, the foundation, what it looks like from this moment forward? What might that be like? Well, she heard those words. And she said, is there a second opinion out there somewhere? Because I know I'm right. But as she waited, those words settled in her heart. And rather than continuing to spout, when the breath got taken on the other side, she said, I think we find ourselves not where we expected to be. I remember that when we got together, we knew we were soulmates. We knew we had been blessed to find this relationship out of all of the people in the world that we might have connected with. We walked into one another's lives. It took a blind date that we had to be talked into, for heaven's sakes. And look how we've handled this. What might we do to start over? I'll give up what I think the rules of relationship are. Let's together decide how we might move forward. Is that possible for us to do? Well, the shouting eventually stopped, and they began their own 40-day-plus journey with a roadmap, letting go of the BS, so that they could find their way back to that full expression of the love they knew they had found. And it was remarkable. For the years that they maintained their marriage up until the one partner passed away, left the planet, went dancing in the cosmos, they had an extraordinary adventure of love, of creating dreams, of sharing that experience with anyone who would listen, and even some who wouldn't, because they thought the journey was so rich and amazing that who wouldn't want to know that you can change anything on a dime if you just let go of the BS, find a roadmap that works, and together choose how you will move forward and express the divine nature of love through your relationship. You know one of these characters in this story. The other one is the physicist husband that I've spoken of from time to time from this platform or in classes. And he did go back to dance in the cosmos, leaving me license always to continue to share our story. Because we felt it was a transcendent choice that we made, not without some great pain and an occasional continued shouting conversation. We were passionate individuals together. But we moved through it and found a way to express something extraordinary together. It was richer even than the beginning of the relationship had been. And I am so grateful that we didn't miss that part of it, that we chose to do the work, because it is work. Anybody in relationship want to say amen to that? It is work. I think relationship is the PhD work that all of us will do while we're in the body on the planet. But it's joyful. And we need to fast and let go of the things that aren't serving the whole, the health, the light, and the love. But that's the spiritual work that we're all called to individually as well as collectively as a community, to express more fully the light of God from within us so that this place is indeed a beacon of that light for others whose hearts may be hurting, who haven't found their fullest expression of God yet, but may when the doors are open here and the light shines bright. One other useful process for this journey of the Lenten season, your journey perhaps to love and the other qualities of your God nature, is to remember that it's useful to read a little, meditate more, and think about God all the time. Many of us remember this wisdom being shared by Sky St. John. The actual attribution comes from Paramahansa Yogananda. But I like to think of it as Sky's wisdom for my life. A roadmap piece, a toolkit to guide me as I seek to expand all that I am as the being of God, expressing love, shining light here on the planet right now in my life. One way to deeply focus and meditate in your journey is through a technique developed by the HeartMath Institute, which has spent decades researching and quantifying the energy of the presence of God, or the energy that exists particularly in the field of our heart. And it's a simple technique. I'm going to invite you to join me in this meditation that may be the starting point, a test exercise for your Lenten journey. So breathe in deeply with me. Fully inhale, and then fully exhale. And repeat that. Inhale and exhale. And now imagine that breath is going in and out through the filter of your heart, not only to your lungs, but first through your heart to your lungs. And then as you exhale, it leaves through your heart. This deep breathing, imagining that it involves your heart center, the seat of God within your being. Adding to that a strong positive emotion. So now think of something that puts you in a spirit of gratitude, that brings you great joy. And continue to breathe, letting your breath fall into a natural rhythm, still in and out through the heart in your consciousness. This creates an active state of God in you, localized and focused in you. Heart coherence, we call it. Breathing in and out. Thinking thoughts of gratitude or joy. Holding that focus for a minute. Absolutely changes the state of your being. So whenever you have forgotten your way on the path of love, you might use this technique. Center, breathe. Think of gratitude, think joy. And hold the intention to chart your path to your highest expression, that transcendent divine nature of love as you in this and every moment. Love, love, love. Indeed, it's all there is in our hearts and on the planet. Thank you, God, that we connect with this idea and choose to express it actively and fully. And so it is. Amen.